Earlier this week, on August 18th, something happened that reminded me how powerful relationships are. A new recent product arrived on what would have been my mom's 67th birthday. 10 years earlier, my very first product arrived during the weekend of her funeral. And when I stood on the beach holding this product on the beach that I know she would have loved, I became incredibly emotional. But it wasn't, of course, because of the bottle that created that feeling within me. It wasn't even the date alone. It wasn't the beach. It wasn't the memory of my mom. It was the relationship between all of them that created a depth of a connection and a release I didn't expect. And that moment reminded me of something I've been discovering inside my own body for the last year and a half while going through my heart healing journey. The most powerful response isn't always created by one thing. It's created by the relationship between things. And that's exactly why I stopped looking at breath, movement, touch, sound vibration, and voice as separate practices or separate tools, you can say. Because the power isn't only in the tool, it's in what happens when the tools begin working together. The synergy between them can create an experience that no single tool can create alone. Of course, each one has value, but collectively, they can engage different layers within us and create a more global experience instead of focusing only on one isolated part. And that's what I want to show you today, because your body, just like mine, doesn't operate in isolated parts or departments, you can say. So why would we train it or care for it as if it does? We often talk about nervous system, fascia, vascular system separately, but they are not having separate lives, I would say, inside of our body. They are constantly influencing one another. So let me show you what I mean. I'm sitting on the Rethink Your Body vibroacoustic chair. You can sit wherever you are, just sit comfortably. I'm going to start with one breath. That is it, just breath. Now, I'm going to place one of my hands on my sternum and add the breath, the same breath. It was the same breath, gentle touch, hand on my sternum, slightly maybe towards my heart. My body has another physical signal to notice and allow the breath to connect with my touch. Don't try to push it, pull it, in no way. Just allow the gravity to pull your elbow down towards the ground. That's it. Now, I'm going to place my tongue against the roof of my mouth and take another breath. Now I will take another breath, and on exhale, I will hum. So I had my breath, my hand, tongue, and hum. Now my breath has sound. That sound creates vibration I can physically feel through my mouth, my face, my throat, and my chest. I'm not trying to sing, I'm just trying to notice. Now I can gently add movement, a small movement through my neck and my chest, okay? Allow me to demonstrate. Hand, breath, tongue, exhale, right, with the hum and a movement. Just notice. Notice, if you are following me, how different your body feels on the side that you just moved gently with me versus the other. It was nothing aggressive, nothing forced, very gentle. And beneath me, the chair is adding another layer of sound vibration through my spine that generates a different synergy between all of the tools. So now I'm not experiencing just breath, touch, sound, vibration, and movement as unrelated things or tools. They are beginning to inform one another and work in synergy. That is the difference. Different layers of your body start to communicate. Your nerves, your fascia, your lymph, your muscles, your even cranial nerves. That's why in my work, I start with the nervous system, because the nervous system state changes what becomes available to us. It changes our breathing patterns, it changes muscular and fascial tension, it influences vascular tone, it changes what we notice and how we respond. So when I'm combining these tools, I'm not asking which one is best. I am asking what combination helps this person become more present, connected, and more available to themselves. And part of the state we are in is also expressed through sound. Not only through the sound we've made, but sometimes through the sounds we never allowed ourselves to make. The sounds we were afraid to make, embarrassed to make, told not to make, or simply didn't feel safe enough to make. That became an important part of my own heart healing journey. Please understand that I am not saying that every unspoken emotion is physically trapped somewhere in the body. I am saying that many of us have learned very early which emotions, which sounds, which reactions, and which expressions felt acceptable, and which didn't. I certainly did, and I paid for that. And that's why using my voice became more than communication. It became another way to notice and acknowledge myself. So before we go further, allow me to ask you something. How do you feel today? Or maybe, how is your emotional well-being today? If you had to describe it in one word, what would that word be? Don't explain it. Don't analyze it. Just find the word. Now imagine you didn't have to explain that feeling to anyone. What sound would it make? Maybe it's hum, Maybe it's a longer exhale. Maybe something completely different. There is no right sound or no wrong sound. The point isn't to sound good. The point is to notice what changes when the feeling is allowed to have expression. And I hope you can begin, I would say, to see why I use the term whole body voice. It's not just voice coming from your mouth and your throat. Look at what we just did. We added breath, we added touch, we added tongue position, we added intentional breath, sound, vibration, movement, our own voice. Different inputs working together to create a more integrated experience within the entire body. That's what interests me. The relationship between the tools, and this is also where my work is heading. I believe the training and coaching industries need to evolve. We have been, I would say, become incredibly sophisticated in training muscles. We have tactics for almost everything we can see, and voice, sound, vibration, sensory input, and internal state, they cannot be treated as separate specialties. Sometimes they are dismissed as being perceived as too holistic. And I believe because many of us have not understood their value and how we can incorporate them into our work. These tools are a massive part of the human health and performance strategy. And I want coaches, trainers, health practitioners, like physical therapists and other leaders actually in the industries, even psychologists, understand how these tools work together and how to use them as another layer in developing the person behind the performance. Because what happens underneath the skin eventually influences what the world sees on the outside. That is part of what I'm building into internal conditioning. And soon, it's what I want to teach other coaches and practitioners how to apply responsibly to gain better results with their own clients. And also, very important, or I would say equally important, feel better in their own body. Earlier this week, the relationship between the date of August 18th, a memory, the beach, I would say, the product, and someone I loved with all my heart created an emotional response I never could have planned. And it reminded me, meaning often lives in relationships. Life is built on relationships. Success is built on relationships. Health is influenced by relationships. But perhaps the most important relationship we will ever develop is the one we have with ourselves. That's the relationship I want to help people strengthen, so they can access more of who they already are and help others do the same. So today, please don't add 5 new things to your routine. Take one breath, one touch, maybe add a hum, maybe play with the tongue. Notice what changes. Feel the relationship, because sometimes the most powerful response doesn't come from doing more. It comes from connecting what was already there. Until next time, please take care of your heart, because nobody can do it better than you.